I think the rise of helium-10 is in direct correlation to when they brought you on. And
I don't know about that.
No, listen, you started putting content out there. And I know for us and our brand, and again, talking and listening to people like Gary Vee, similar to, like what Mr. Beast has done on YouTube, he's absolutely crushing it with his products, but it's all built on the content that he's put out. And Mr. Beast, right, is going to be a multi-billionaire, and he will compete with major brands, whether that's Coca-Cola. I know some influencers on YouTube already. They have beverages, right, in the beverage space. How did they do it? They did it by building their content. And so when I see your title at Helium-10, Chief Evangelist, right? What is that? That is creating content and getting the message out there that Helium-10 has the best tool that you need as an Amazon seller. And how are people going to find out? The only way they find out, right, is through content creation.
Yeah, that part is definitely true. It's multi-purpose. It serves as training. Like how can people need to know, or how can people get the benefit out of Helium-10 if they don't know how to use it? It's for getting brand awareness. It's for community building. You look at the difference of how we rose so fast, and others maybe just kind of fell away or stayed stagnant. One of the big differences, like as far as a tool wise, it's not like, our engineers are. I pick our engineers over anybody, but it's not like, in real talk, it's not like, we have engineers with special knowledge that other tool companies didn't have. But if you look at the one difference, it was like our community and content are key, and people appreciate that. That they want. There was another company out there who was way bigger than us.
Yep.
And they were big with community before, and their founder was right there front and center. Then all of a sudden you notice that he wasn't out there as much, anymore. We had to go through that. Manny Coates, was front and center of our company, but he's like, wait a minute, I can't really grow this company if I'm just doing training videos and meetups and all this stuff all the time. I got to step away. But instead of just stepping away and now there's nobody filled that void, that was where I kind of came in. And you can almost see the difference there, where it was like, we wanted to make sure our community understood that they're important to us and have as many touch points as possible.
Yeah.
Some of the other companies didn't do that. And you could see, some of them fell off. So I think, community is important, not just in the software space, but just, if you're running an agency or even if you're just building your brand, just don't forget about the community and they'll show you love.
Absolutely. So, again, if you're listening to this podcast and you have your own brand, you're building your brand, one of the things that we just recently did over the last 5 months is we've been doing social all along. So our Instagram is probably our best social. We have a decent amount of following, about 20,000 followers. We have a lot of user generated content. So we are constantly reaching out to other influencers, asking them to try our product. They're giving us videos, which are really good, but we really felt like we had to do almost what Helium-10, when they brought you on, like we have to make some hires of folks who are experts in the different areas of our products. And they really need to start producing some educational content, some entertainment content. So we actually hired 3 people. We sell kind of in 3 different niches. And that's really what we're putting a lot of our time and a lot of our energy into, is helping them and allowing them to kind of create their own educational content on their channel, because we believe the long-term play, again, is that you build that brand equity through authentic content with people that believe in the product and can really teach and help others.
For sure.
And I see that, like what you were able to do with Helium-10, what you continue to do with Helium-10, as the exact same play. So help us understand, again, we see you traveling all over. So let us in just a little bit, if you can, what are you doing when you're going to all these countries?
Yeah. Well, first of all, shameless plug to the podcast, but guys, look up, Serious Sellers Podcast. And just recently, I'll give you guys a number. As a matter of fact, I did a travel hacks episode. So I got to make it clear, because otherwise, people at Helium-10, other employees might get a little bit wondering, like, is Bradley expensing trips to the Maldives and to Pakistan? All this? No, almost all of these weird trips that you see me doing, like, I'm paying this out of my own pocket. But in this episode, okay, 375. So it's 375, guys. Look up Serious Sellers Podcast episode 375. I talk about how I pretty much don't pay for any of this. Like I just use credit card points. You Amazon sellers out there, guys, you shouldn't be paying for any of your flights. If you're a big seller, it should almost be 100% points just with PPC, spend alone, let alone other things. But when I go places, I have as a travel nerd, I have twofold reasons why I travel to places. It's like, yes, I try and do business stuff. I go to Pakistan and of course I'm doing presentations and things, but I always want to look at what's going on locally. So every time I go to a new place, and I'm about to hit up 4 new countries next month, I including Vietnam. I've never been to Vietnam before.
Man.
Speaking at an event in Singapore, Vietnam, and then I'm also going to Korea and Japan. But I always I have a list of stuff I do. Number one is I look up this app called TripAdvisor, and then there's this thing called Top Things to Do, and it's voted on by tens of hundreds of thousands of people.
Yep.
And then I look where I'm going to go for a conference or for whatever, and I was like, how many of the top 10 things in the entire country are near me, and can I cross off the bucket list? And like usually there's always stuff. Is when you fly into an airport, you're usually flying into the main city, so guarantee there's like a cool museum or a cool amazing experience to do. So I always do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is I try and like go to the top restaurant. In America, it's easy. Like there's something that a lot of people don't realize. They know about Yelp, but there's a top 100 list that comes out every year for Yelp. So just type in Yelp top 100 for 2022 or whatever. And then if I'm going to go travel to a city like Orlando or wherever, I'm going to see if there are any restaurants that made it near. And so like every time I go somewhere, I'm going to literally one of the top 100 restaurants in the United States. And it's just, I'm a foodie like that. So
right,
guys, as entrepreneurs, sometimes we get too focused on the business side of things and then we forget about the pleasure sides. And yeah, you got to be focused on business. But when you travel, guys, it's, you don't have to be a travel nerd like me to like appreciate this stuff. It's amazing when you dive into the history of another country or their culture or their food. So whenever you travel, try and do some of those things, even if it is a business trip, and it just makes the trips a lot more meaningful.